I want to apologize from the outset for talking so fast. Your time is valuable and I want to take up as little of it as possible. I'm calling this the "What is wrong with our network?" and you're seriously going to connect our phones to it? Seriously? Presentation? When you first look at our network, it seems that things should be wonderful. We have 100 megabyte connections from all of our elementary schools to the district office and 1 gigabyte connections from all our junior highs and high schools to the district office for a whopping 8.8 gigabytes of speed. The problem is the way the network was originally engineered is incredibly inefficient, and I'm going to show you why. When that data gets to the district office, we take it and we push it through a 1 gigabyte pipe out to the internet. Now I know what you're thinking. That seems silly. Well, it actually gets worse. All of our sites sit on what's known as a sonnet ring. And on this sonnet ring, data travels between our school sites and then eventually back to the district office. The good thing about a sonnet ring is that if there's a cut along the ring anywhere, the data travels back the other way and can get to the district office. This protects us from long-term outages because somebody was digging in their backyard and cut a cable. The problem with this is, though, when it gets to the district office, we take that data and we push it out through a pipe to Cox. It goes through a router at Cox at their Fairview office, and then it travels back to us in the same pipe. It goes through our firewall, we scan it for malicious activity, we make sure kids aren't going to places that they shouldn't on the internet, and then we push it back out to Cox, who sends it off to the internet. The other thing that's happening is that because we're all on a sonnet ring, if any one thing happens at a site, it impacts everyone else at every other site. So, for instance, the other day, we had a loop at a site in the network, and it caused slowness for everyone in the entire district. Going back to this idea of sending data in the same path, we really should be getting a gig connection to the network, but because the data has to travel on top of itself, the most we ever get is 500 megs. So I want to go back to that graphic I showed you earlier where I said we're traveling to the internet at 1 gig. We're actually not. It's worse than that. At the most, it's going to be 500 megs. So we're going from 8.8 gigabytes on the inside down to a 500 megabyte pipe to the internet. So, are you tired yet? Well, it gets worse. If you were to look at how data flows on our network, so this is a representation of a data pipe. We put every bit of data into one pipe. Whether you're talking about people cruising the internet, watching videos, listening to music, using their Apple TVs, everything is in one pipe. The problem with this structure is if a teacher is streaming a video in one class and another teacher tries to get on in another to look at pictures, they're competing with each other. All 15,000 possible users are competing with each other. The other issue is if one of those users has a virus, that virus affects everybody else. Well, what we've been working on recently is putting all of this data into what's known as virtual LANs or VLANs. And in VLANs, we can segment the data into different pipes. We can put all guest traffic in one pipe, all voice traffic in another, etc. And what we've been seeing by doing this is we're getting improved speeds on the sites, not out to the internet, because as we improve our speeds at the sites, it negatively impacts our ability to get to the internet because our speeds are increasing on the outside. That's putting even more pressure on that 500 megabyte connection to the internet. But with VLANs, we can't only separate and segment traffic, we can also make the pipes bigger and smaller based on need. We can give teachers a bigger pipe than guest traffic. We can shrink the size of the video traffic. However we want to set it up, we can also prioritize the traffic where we say, okay, we're going to make sure teachers go first, and then voice is second, or however we want to organize it. The other good part of this is that we can limit the number of people who sit in a pipe. So in this example, I only have 2 teachers. That means if one of them has a virus and it slows down the network, it's not going to impact everybody. It's only going to impact that other teacher. So of course, we wouldn't have only 2 people in a pipe. We're going to have about 255 people or connections in a pipe, but you get the idea. The other thing is that we can have multiple pipes. We're almost unlimited in the number of pipes we have. So we can really segment the traffic to make the network work more efficiently. The other part I know you're asking is how do we fix this? How do we fix this mess? So besides creating VLANs, we're going to make this Sonnet ring less important. So the only data we're going to put on the Sonnet ring is data that has to flow between our school sites. And for us, that's almost nothing because we're not sharing files except on the internet. We're not shipping files from one computer on our network to another generally. And if we do, it's very minimal. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to give every school site its own router and firewall and a direct connection to the internet. So that means if you have a gig connection at your school site, you're not coming back to the district office. You are going to see a gig of speed. You're not going to get bumped down to 500 megs and then compete with all the other school sites for that 500 megs. Now I hear you screaming, what about the phones? Well, let me tell you about the phones. If standard internet traffic on a network is represented by the semi-truck, phone traffic is represented by the smart car. And it's actually better than that. Phone traffic takes up almost no bandwidth. It's almost like a compact smart car. And what you may not realize as you're cruising the internet looking for pictures of chicks is that, or actually let me stop there, maybe you're not a chicks person. Maybe you prefer bunnies and chicks. Or maybe you're just a puppy dog and kitten type of person. What you don't realize is when you're looking at these pictures and they're coming up, there are packets being dropped in the background, there are packets being lost, there are packets being slowed, but you don't see it because you're looking at a picture, and it just means that your picture comes up slightly slower. But when you're talking about a voice packet getting delayed, when that happens, it sounds like you're having a conversation in a club where you hear every other word. So we have a solution for this, though. We're going to give voice its own network. Not only are we going to give it its own network, we're going to give it its own direct connection to the internet. And on top of that, we're going to contract with a different company than Cox to bring in our voice network. And then we're going to use Cox as a failover if that connection ever fails. So a lot of thought has gone into this. I want to give a shout out, as the kids say, to not only the ITS team, but facilities, Landspeed, who has helped us tremendously, Palo Alto Networks, Aruba Networks, and most importantly, probably to Cox Communications, who has done a lot in re-engineering this network. We had plans to have this done no later than the end of April, but because of the complexity of everything we're doing, it's looking like it's going to be mid-May. So I'll keep you updated from there. Thanks for listening. Take care.